right here or on AutoZone.com. Getting the job done just got easier. Restrictions apply.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
The radio home of the Sports Bash with Mike Gill. WENJ, WENJ-HD, Millville, Atlantic City, 97.3 ESPN. This is Game Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app. Now, live from the Matt Black Kia Studios.
What a move!
Here's Josh Hennig.
Josh Hennig here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN FM on your radio dial. Also, we are live on the 97.3 ESPN YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter, where you can watch Game Night every week here on 97.3 ESPN. Also, the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Sea City. Josh Hennig hanging out with you. Monday edition of the show. Sixers back in action tonight. Who actually is playing tonight? We'll get into that with Kevin McCormick coming up in just a bit, because we just heard a little bit ago, you heard on the Sports Bash with Mike Gill, Tobias Harris out, not too surprising. But then Joel Embiid, very questionable. What the heck is going on with the 76ers? I mean, they just lost to the Cavs. Well, these guys getting ready for an extended All-Star break. Well, that's Kevin McCormick coming up just under 20 minutes from now to get more into the situation of the Sixers tonight versus the Pacers. You can hear all the action right here on 97.3 ESPN, 7 o'clock with Tom McGinnis. We'll also touch on what's going on with the Eagles and the Phillies. Phillies action slowly generating, slowly getting a little bit of interest. So we got a lot to get to, just a little bit of time with all of you out there. 609-403-0973 is the text board. Also, you can comment on the stream at 973 ESPN on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. As you just heard on the 5 questions segment, listen, there's a lot to get to here, and we'll get to the Sixers before we get to Kevin McCormick, but I got to start with the Eagles, because when Jeff Mosher was talking about the Eagles quarterback situation, I couldn't help but notice what that really means. And, you know, I mentioned this to Mike Gillis a little bit ago. When you think about the Eagles situation at quarterback, Nick Sirianni did not draft Jalen Hurts. You may like Hurts. I may like Hurts. Whoever else may like Hurts out there. But if the head coach is not impressed, remember when Nick Sirianni said, I still have a lot of tape to watch. I still have to do a lot of studying. I still have to do a lot of evaluation going on here. That was his opening press conference. Really haven't heard from him since, except for that canned interview on the Eagles website. So who really knows what Sirianni really thinks about Jalen Hurts moving forward? And the Eagles didn't hire Nick Sirianni just because. No, they hired him because they had a purpose, a reason that they wanted to bring this guy in here. And if they genuinely believe that this is the right guy to be their head coach, then you have to go into this situation and trust him with his evaluations. And whether it's specifically Sirianni, whether it is Howie Roseman and Sirianni, whether it's Brian Johnson, who knows Jalen Hurts intimately, who used to coach in the college ranks himself, whoever it is that gives the thumbs up or thumbs down to Jalen Hurts, that's going to determine what the Eagles do moving forward. Jeff Mosher earlier today on the Sports Bash said this.
If they were to kind of go out and get a Marcus Mariota, who is still young and who still probably has a lot of upside and played fairly well in his limited spot last year, that might signal or indicate to you that they're not completely sold on Jalen Hurts. And of course, if they draft a quarterback at number 6 overall, that would indicate to you the same. And so we kind of have to sit back and watch what they do.
Think about the 2 scenarios he just put out there. Marcus Mariota, not a very old player, or if they draft a quarterback, that tells you what the Eagles think of Hurts. What that screams to me is that if that's even a speculation, that's even a situation, then the Eagles have a bigger problem than who the backup or who the rookie quarterback they may draft may be. The bigger problem may be more drama in Philadelphia this summer and this fall. If you draft a quarterback at 6 overall, that screams, we don't believe in Jalen Hurts to me. Marcus Mariota coming in, that doesn't scream we don't believe in Jalen Hurts. That screams, listen, pull in case of emergency. What if there's an injury? What if Hurts is not 100% ready for the job? What if he struggles? Look, what they did in Miami. Ryan Fitzpatrick came in relief multiple times for Tua. I'm not saying that Tua and Hurts are the same quarterback, but I'm saying that there is a possibility the rookie might be ready, not be ready. Now, if we have any semblance of a mini camp and an off season, then maybe, just maybe, you can go through the situation where you have more confidence in Hurts because you've seen him in person. You've seen his evolution from what you saw of him in December to camp, mini camp, to training camp, to maybe a couple preseason games, hopefully, and then a regular season. I think it greatly hurt almost every rookie this year that they didn't have a full off season to adapt, acclimate, and adjust to the NFL. Realistically, the only rookie that really had a no adjustment period was Justin Jefferson. And that's literally because of the fact that he walked into the Vikings and was handed Stephon Diggs' old role and said, hey, guess what? You're getting about 90 to 110 targets this year. Good luck. If you mess up, it's on you. If you do great, good. We picked you for a reason. He was put in his position to be as successful as possible. Most of the other rookies were not. And that's why, for example, CeeDee Lamb had some down games. And not just because Dak Prescott didn't play the majority of the season. That's why, for example, Jerry Jeudy had inconsistencies this past year. That's why Justin Herbert had some great games and some mediocre games. And that's why Jalen Hurts had difficulty last year, because of the fact that, listen, if you take away those 4 to 5 throwaways every game, that completion percentage is not as disgusting. People always point to, oh, the completion percentage was bad. Yeah, but you look at, so what some of the incompletions were. Those incompletions were not all made equal. Those completions were throwing the ball away, not forcing a turnover, not being, lack of a better term, a hero, like Carson Wentz was, not forcing the ball in the coverage. Hurts said, play's not there. I got to get out of it. Let's get out of it. That was smart. That's what you're supposed to do. But what happens? Oh, the completion percentage was horrible. Come on. You actually watched the games, you knew it wasn't that horrible. But there were other things he did were a little bit tenuous, a little bit tricky. In the Cardinals game, he had a couple opportunities to make plays. They didn't make the play because either the offensive line didn't hold up or he didn't read the defense properly. It happens. Same thing in the Cowboys game. So if he evolves from that player to better, then it doesn't matter who the backup quarterback is, except if he gets hurt. But what if he does get hurt? He doesn't have an injury history. But you know what? There's a lot of quarterbacks that have injury histories who had injury problems in the NFL. Tony Romo with the Cowboys being one of them. Tony Romo didn't have an injury history in high school or college. Gets to the NFL, gets smashed a few times. All right. Things happen. So you move forward with the situation with the quarterbacks. As Jeff Mosher said, you learn a lot about what their plans are with the different backup quarterback messages.
I think there's a difference in getting a guy like Mariota versus Fitzpatrick to me, because Mariota is still someone who you may view can be rebuilt into a starting quarterback that you're going to have for the next several years. Whereas Fitzpatrick, you kind of know that you're just getting a veteran backup.
Now, listen, maybe there is some truth to that. I don't think Marcus Mariota can compete for a starting quarterback job in the NFL right now. I just don't. It's not because I don't think Marcus Mariota can't play in the NFL. It's because I don't think Marcus Mariota has the pedigree at this point in his career. Now, could he be rehabilitated? Could he be rehabbed? Could he be resurrected to what his potential should be? Sure, he could be, but I just don't see that. I don't see a scenario where Marcus Mariota comes in here and just crazily outplays Jalen Hurts. But Mosher is right about this. Whoever the backup quarterback is going to send a message to this team, to this organization. And that is worth keeping an eye on. That is worth watching exactly who is that guy. And that is what I'm curious to see with the Philadelphia Eagles. The backup quarterback will send a huge message. What that message is, time will tell. Josh Hennig here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN. Don't forget my FanDuel Sportsbook pick of the night coming up a little bit later this hour. So we give you the pick at the end of the show each night here on 97.3 ESPN. Don't forget Sixers versus Pacers tonight. Will Embiid play? Tobias Harris already ruled out. We'll talk with Kevin McCormick about all that coming up 10 minutes from now. Speaking of the Sixers, I can't not talk about the game yesterday. I'm sorry, this weekend. Oh my goodness. So I'm watching the Cavs game. The first thing I keep thinking is the Philadelphia 76ers supporting cast is really struggling in this game. But then I thought deeper. Wait a minute. You know who's not out there? No Tobias Harris. Where was Tobias? Oh, that's right. He's injured. So with no Tobias Harris, you had Danny Green going 3 for 9. Seth Curry going 1 for 13. Furkan Korkmaz going 3 for 9. This is from the field. This isn't from 3-point range. This is from the field. This is every shot. That means that the three starters who are supposed to support Embiid and Simmons, who are supposed to help their superstars, they combined to go 7 for 31. What absolute trash performance by your supporting cast. Shake Milton didn't help. He came off the bench. He went 3 for 8 as well. So not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 guys combined for 10 field goals. These are your primary scorers who are supposed to step up without Tobias Harris. They didn't do anything. They did nothing. You want to know why the Sixers lost to the Cavs? Because teams don't win without each other. Embiid had 42 points. Ben Simmons had 24. He also had 8 assists. Embiid had 2 blocks. Embiid went 14 for 16 for the foul line. And you lost. The 76ers are now 1-3 without Tobias Harris and a point differential of -30. So the next time your buddy or someone you know wants to come to you and says, oh, Tobias Harris, that guy's overpaid, that guy's overrated, just remember, you got nothing without Tobias. You don't beat the Lakers without Tobias' shot. You don't win a couple of these games this year without Tobias having these huge third quarters that he does. When he comes alive and starts hitting buckets, when he starts getting those rebounds and starting to break. People are so obsessed with Simmons scoring. Guess what? Simmons, when he scores big, they're not always winning games. You know why? Because he has to score to make up for the void without fill-in-the-blank player doing their job. You know, you go back to the West and the Rockets, people are like wondering, why is James Harden, why is he so amazing with the Nets? Because he doesn't have to score. That's why. When Harden was with the Rockets, Mike D'Antoni and the Rockets organization put the entire burden on him at times and said, James, go win us games. Harden was shooting 35 times a game because he had to. Simmons doesn't have to score if everyone else does their job. So you don't want to know why the Cavs won that game. You want the Cavs won both games because the guys who were supposed to step up didn't do their job. This is 2 different times Sixers to play the Cavs with somebody injured, and guess what? The supporting cast came up short. You want to know why we're talking about Kyle Lowry? You want to know why we're talking about Zach LaVine? You don't want to know why we're talking about George Hill and PJ Tucker and fill in the blank dude who's been rumored to the 76ers because of that game versus the Cavaliers. 609-403-0973 is the text board to get on the conversation. Also, you can comment on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter as you watch the show here on 97.3 ESPN. Of course, Game Night here being brought to you by Matt Black Kia. Matt Black Kia wants to get you approved today. Matt Black Kia on the Black Horse Pike in Egg Harbor Township. Text board is open, 609-403-0973. Let me get this text in before we hit the break. I'll pop it up on the screen for all of you watching on the stream at 973 ESPN. Dan from EHT is unhappy, to say the least. Dan from EHT chimes in on the text board at 609-403-0973. He says, I am so done with Seth Curry. He is killing the team. They would be better off with Josh Richardson. Well, first of all, that's not true at all. That's just reacting to one game. Josh Richardson is never going to be more than what he is. He's a nice player. He's not a great at really anything. He's a nice player. He's an okay player. He's not a great player. He's not great at anything, actually, when you think about it. Seth Curry has had a handful of really poor games since he had the COVID situation. It's part of the deal. We don't know the full effects of the COVID-19 situation. When Seth Curry missed those games, here's his three-point shooting percentages since he came back from COVID. 60%, 0%, 25, 0, 66, 25, 0, 66, 66, 42, 20, 25, 60, 20, 28, 100%, 14%. He's not killing them. I'm sorry, Dan. I can't agree with you. How about Seth Curry was well coming off the COVID break? Turnovers, 2, 1, 1, 1, 0, 1, 1, 0, 0, 3, 0, 3, 1. One bad game, 5, 3, 3, 1, 1. So he's not turning the ball over. For the most part, he's had some pretty good three-point shooting games. He's not killing them. He's just not as effective as he was before he came down with COVID. Three-point shooting before he came down with COVID. 85%, 100%, 50%, 71, 50, 40, 75, 20. For the season, he's still averaging 44.9% from three, despite some of those bad games. You don't want Josh Richardson. Josh Richardson is average. And in life, you don't win with average. Average is how you lose. You need a great shooter, and that's what Seth Curry is. But Dan, I appreciate you chiming in at 609-403-0973. We're going to talk more Sixers coming up next. Kevin McCormick will join us live on the World Kind of Hotline and virtually live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter at 973 ESPN. Here on Game Night on 973 ESPN FM and 973 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle City, and live on your radio, on your smartphone, and on all the social media platforms for you to consume 97.3 ESPN.
It's Philadelphia Flyers hockey tomorrow on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app with Tim Saunders and Steve Coates calling all the play-by-play action. The Flyers are in Pittsburgh to face the Penguins tomorrow. Coverage begins at 7 p.m. It's Philadelphia Flyers hockey on the radio home of the Flyers in South Jersey, 97.3 ESPN, and listen live on the free mobile app.
A message from your neighbors and friends at First Bank. We've been serving residents and businesses of Sea Isle City and the surrounding communities for more than 130 years. Today's challenges, while unique, are another opportunity to show our strength and resilience. Our commitment to you remains strong. Whether it's using our drive-through services, bank by phone, the First Bank mobile app, or online banking, we're staying strong with you. Be safe and be secure. First Bank, here for you.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
It's time for some straight talk.
Tax returns could look a little different this year. So when the big carriers start trying to get you to splurge on the latest nonsense, just tune it out. With Straight Talk Wireless, you can get a Samsung Galaxy A51 for just $199. Plus, get our unlimited plan with no contract on America's best networks for up to 50% less. Tune out the nonsense. Tune into Straight Talk Wireless. Straight Talk Wireless. No contract, no compromise.
Savings may vary. See straighttalk.com.
This month, let me offer you some presidential advice. Leave your dollar in your wallet when you get 0% APR financing from Matt Black Kia.
Matt Black Kia wants to get you out of that old car you hate. Come in today or visit us online and get the credit you deserve. 0% APR financing available for up to 60 months on new 2021 Kia Sportage, K5, and Forte models. Or take $4,000 off MSRP on new 2020 Kia Niros in stock. Plus, Matt Black Kia in Toms River and Egg Harbor Township wants your trade, even if you owe thousands more than it's worth. Don't forget, you can't make a mistake with our 4-day love it or leave it return policy.
It's gotta be a Matt Black Kia.
Offers for Tier 1 or 2 credit for Kia Motors Finance. Not all will qualify. 0% based on 1516 per 1,000 cars. 4,000 all 2020 euros with 2,500 Kia Motors factory rebate to dealer. 1,500 Matt Black Kia discount. Go to mattblackkianj.com for complete details. Expires 3/4/2021.
Matt Black Kia, 6211 Black Horse Pike, Egg Harbor Township. And now on Route 37 in Toms River.
We know you're spending a lot of time at home, and maybe that home could use a little TLC. Since going to a home show isn't really a thing right now, 97.3 ESPN FM is bringing the home show to you. Local exhibitors have been setting up in a virtual show featuring the latest products and services for your home. Go to 973ESPN.com to find great articles on home improvement tips and trends. Thanks to our friends at Broadleys Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning. Broadleys.net, your trusted source for 3 generations.
You're listening to Game Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app.
Josh Hennig here on 97.3 ESPN. Of course, this is Game Night hanging out with you live here on 97.3 ESPN. Joining us right now on the Boardwalk on the hotline to get more into the 76ers. He is Kevin McCormick, our 97.3 ESPN.com Sixers beat writer. He joined us live on the virtual stream. Kevin, I wore this hat just for you. How you doing, man?
Josh, I'm doing good. How about yourself?
Doing pretty good. I promised you there was a black Phillies hat out there, and anybody watching on the stream can see this literally is a black Phillies cap.
I like it. I kind of dig the faded bell behind the P.
Yeah, this hat is probably almost 20 years old, so I have no idea where this thing came from. So don't ask me where I bought it. Don't ask me how I got it. It was gifted to me by my great aunt about 20 years ago.
Hey, looks good. I also love the Macho Man shirt you're rocking right now.
Yeah, this shirt's there's a long story behind this shirt, and we're not getting into that right now. Let's get into the Sixers here. First of all, Kevin, what's the latest with who's playing, who's not playing tonight? Because, when I saw earlier that Joel Embiid was very questionable, I mean, that just screams, why even say anything? Like, what's the deal there?
Yeah, so before the game, Doc Rivers said that Tobias Harris definitely won't play today. And then with Joel, that very questionable were the words he used. It sounds like it's going to be one of those games where Joel's going to go through shoot around, and if he feels good, he's going to go. But it basically kind of felt like Doc Rivers kind of tipped his hat and said, hey, we're kind of going to mail this one in for Joel and save him for Utah on Wednesday.
Now, I am seeing video of Embiid taking mid-range shots in the warm-up, so I'm wondering if this is literally one of those, hey, Joel, go shoot shots and see how you feel, and we'll make a decision after that kind of deal.
There's been a couple of games like that where Joel's kind of had some small nagging injuries, and it's really come down to how he felt after he's gone out and got some jump shots up. There's been some times where he's gone out and felt good, and then there's been other times where his back's been struggling, and he said where his back was just too tight by the time he was done his warm-up routine that he had to sit. So I would say it's still 50-50 right now, but tonight was the first time that Doc really leaned one way when he said how questionable Joel Embiid would be. So I don't say I would hold my breath too long, but I mean, there's still always a chance.
Now, this might be a controversial question to some, but for others, this is a very important question. I don't know if there's a right answer for this, Kevin. Should we hold Joel Embiid's lack of playing every single day against him as an MVP candidate?
That's tough. I would say yes, mainly because the history of the award. I think David Robinson might have been the year David Robinson won. I think he's played the shortest amount of games and won the award. But I think to be the MVP, you do have to be a guy that is out there every night for your team. I mean, like we've talked about before, the most important word of MVP is the V, valuable. And you can really create a case of how valuable is a guy if he's not out on the floor every night helping lead the team. So I would say there definitely is a case for it, but then I think in today's game and with the emphasis of taking care of superstars and kind of, I guess, the load management era of the game we're in right now, I think there has to be an unofficial line drawn as to how much time you can miss and, also being granted the time to miss games, because very rarely do we see star players, especially with the injury history of a guy like Joel Embiid, go the full 82 or 72 in this season's case. So I would say it's a gray area, and I would have to say yes or no. Yes and no.
When you think about this season as well, couldn't we argue that when you look at a situation like this, I mean, is it really fair to give anybody anything specifically just because of the fact of, it's a shortened season? We know in lockout years, for example, LeBron won a lockout year, Karl Malone won a lockout year. So you could argue that for some of these guys, listen, maybe it's just part of the year that, you can't measure this against previous seasons.
I would say, yes, in the sense of, especially in today's time, mainly in the sense of with COVID going on and such, where how contact tracing goes, you could really lose your MVP candidacy in the sense of just being around somebody, not even having it yourself, and you could lose 2 weeks. And in a season like this year, where teams are playing almost every other night and you're having a lot of 3 games in 4 days, I think it could kill your chances. And this could be a year where someone sneaks in just because they get on that really hot stretch and maybe their team is able to escape with limited time off due to COVID and such and having to deal with health and safety protocols. So, I mean, when you look at a team like the Miami Heat, who Bam Adebayo and Jimmy Butler are both looked at as all-star players in the league right now, both were left off the all-star team despite having very good seasons. And part of that was because of the time they missed in the beginning of the season, really lost that time to kind of get the ground running and be able to secure at least one of their spots.
Kevin McCormick joining us here on GameNight on 97.3 ESPN. Sixers versus Pacers tonight. All the action. Tom McGinnis on the call. 7 p.m. right here on 97.3 ESPN. By the way, you asked who the MVP award winner who played the fewest games who won in a non-lockout season. That'd be Bill Walton, 77-78 with the Trailblazers. We should note that season he led the league in nothing. So it's not like he was exemplary in any specific stat except for the fact that that happened to be the year his team did not win the NBA title. So, obviously history's got a weird story in of itself, and we're not here to rehash history, but here's a little context. There is a little bit of history behind guys winning awards. I mentioned Karl Malone, LeBron James won striking shortened seasons. Obviously last year, Giannis won it because of the COVID-19 pandemic. And then the other guy on the list would be Bob Cousy in 56-57. And frankly, you can't compare it to anything to that time period because that was before color television.
And back when the guy still had summer jobs, as crazy as that sounds.
Oh, yeah, the good old days when they were bagging groceries and you went and got one to your favorite player at the grocery store.
Yeah, could you imagine bumping into Joel Embiid now at like your local supermarket during the off season?
I feel like Joel Embiid would be like the deli cuts guy.
Definitely, they have to hide him behind that big counter just because there was no way you're just putting him in the front of the store. He's taking up too much room.
Yeah, imagine asking Joel Embiid for some bologna and some pepperoni slices with some Swiss cheese for your sandwiches. And Joel would be like, oh, yeah, I'll do that. Sure. Yeah.
That would definitely be an experience. It always cracks me up. Like back in the day, back when the Phillies still played at Connie Mack Stadium, the players would actually take the trolley with just normal civilians and casual fans to the game with them. I couldn't even imagine like Bryce Harper hopping on the Broad Street line and riding the subway all the way down to the stadium with fans.
Kevin, let's get into a little bit more of this game tonight before we get to anything else. Listen, the Pacers are a very good team. We know that they've obviously had some struggles this year, but they still have that guy named Sabonis who's a force of nature. We know that they're a scrappy team. They may not be the best version of themselves, but 15-17 to me doesn't tell the whole story of this team, because I think that when they're healthy, that team is very dangerous, and Sabonis himself is very dangerous. We saw how they played the Celtics the other night. So what are your thoughts on this matchup tonight?
I think without Joel Embiid, it is going to be a very tough one. I agree with a lot of what you said. This is still a very good Pacers team, despite how their record looks right now. You have a guy like Miles Turner, who's up there in blocks per game and has really done a great job protecting the rim. Domantas Sabonis, who is just arguably one of the best power forwards in the game right now. He does it all. He continues to grow his game. And then they also have a solid guard in Malcolm Brogdon, who's also been putting together a solid season. So I think you're really going to have to rely on Ben Simmons in this one. I think this will be another matchup where he really shows his defensive versatility, especially with the first time when these two teams faced off. You saw Simmons really splitting time between Sabonis and Brogdon. So you're really going to need to rely on him with no Embiid and Harris. And arguably it's not looking good with two of the three stars potentially out.
When you also think about this game, I have to wonder, is there a part of the Sixers that is just trying to get to the All-Star break? Like it's been a tumultuous first half of the season for them, right? It's been a situation where you look at this team, it's been guys get COVID protocols. Tobias Harris with the bruised knee. Joel Embiid misses games. Ben Simmons misses games. It almost feels like there's a part of the Sixers that's saying, can we just get to the half-point line and hit the reset button?
Exactly. This is definitely a team that is just trying to survive. I mean, they just have to get through these last two games. They're both at home, so I mean that's a positive in the sense of they don't have to do much traveling in terms of energy saving and traveling and such. But absolutely, this is a team that is just desperately trying to get to that finish line in the All-Star break. Between Joel having his ankle soreness and still struggling with his back at times, Ben Simmons has even had some time off. Tobias Harris, before getting injured, was out there every game. He's definitely a guy I had circled that could definitely benefit from the All-Star break. And then even just, your role players like Danny Green, who's been out there every night for this team. Seth Curry's been on a roller coaster since returning from COVID. I think that week off can do wonders for a guy like him as well. And just that bench unit that's really struggled. I think if you can get a week off, Doc can, spend some time with these guys in the break, and then they can really just refocus, reset, and get ready to hit the ground running when the second half of the schedule starts.
I'm glad you mentioned Seth Curry. By the way, Kevin McCormick joining us here on GameNight. Follow him on Kevin MCC 973 for all your NBA and Sixers coverage. A longtime listener of the show, Dan from EHT, he has an opinion about Curry. I don't agree with it. I want to give you your chance to react. I'll put it up on the screen here. Dan from EHT earlier says, I am so done with Seth Curry. He's killing the team. They would be so better off with Josh Richardson. Curry can't get open, can't play D. Not a good combo. Kevin, I don't agree with this opinion, but I thought I'd leave it there for you to react.
I'd have to disagree as well. I mean, before Seth Curry got hurt, we're talking about a guy that was averaging north of 17 points a game and was a 50, 40, 90 guy almost with his eyes closed. I think really getting hit with COVID, I think it took a toll. Although he's had some very nice showings since he's come back, his play has definitely been a roller coaster, with their last game kind of being arguably the lowest point, I think, since he's returned. But I think he's been a great addition to this team. His ability to get open, the starting lineup now has that reliable sharpshooter again. Although his defense isn't, up to par with a guy like Josh Richardson, who is known for his skill on that side of the ball. I think he can hold his own at times, and I think in Dallas kind of showed that he can help lock in defensively and be a solid team defender. So in terms of that, I mean, I think Curry is a great addition to this team. And I still say that Daryl Morey flipping Josh Richardson for Seth Curry is still his, chef's kiss move of this offseason so far.
See, my biggest thing with Seth, I was saying this earlier before you came on, Kevin, was the fact that you can't hold one or two games against the guy. The majority of the time, he's hitting a pretty good percentage from three. The majority of the time, he's going out there and he's not turning the ball over, except for that one game we had 5 turnovers. So if you're a threat from three, you're not turning the ball over, I think you're doing your job. I'm not going to be mad at the guy because he had a couple rough games. To me, you need somebody who's great at something. I don't need Josh Richardson, who is average at everything. Josh Richardson is good enough to be a starter in the NBA. He's not good enough to help you win a championship. This threat of Seth Curry to me from three is way more valuable than anything Josh Richardson brings to the court, in my opinion.
There's a couple of things with that. One thing, when you have to look at shooters, that skill set, that play style, guys are just going to get streaky. And no matter how great of a shooter you are, we've seen Steph Curry and Klay Thompson go through cold spells, and it really exposed the Warriors in the past. So just gauging it, like you said, gauging a shooter off 1 or 2 bad games where they get cold is really tough. And looking at shooters in general, in today's game, I believe 37% is league average. And when a guy can shoot 40% from 3, they're looked at as, an elite marksman in this league. And to shoot 40% from 3, you have to miss 6 of every 10 attempts. So, guys are going to miss shots. There's never going to be that just pure elite shooter who knocks down everything. And like you said, of bringing in someone who's good at one specific thing, when you have stars like Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons who fill the entire stat sheet, you really just need to put players around them who are very good at one thing that help elevate their games. And like you said, Seth Curry, an elite shooter. So when you bring in a guy like him who really focuses in on that one skill set that is crucial to being around guys like Ben and Joel, is much more beneficial than to having a all-around average guy like Richardson.
Kevin, looking ahead to this team as we get ready for the break, obviously they have one more game against the super hot Utah Jazz team on Wednesday. I believe you'll be in the house for that, correct?
Yes, I will be there.
Okay, good. So you'll be in the house to watch them get crushed by 15.
Yeah, I get to go in and watch Utah shoot about 73s while the Sixers shoot 25.
Right, exactly. on a slightly more serious note, but obviously these last 2 games are an opportunity for you to learn a lot about this team. Obviously the Cavs lost. I can't be 100% mad about that game. I think it just exposes the fact that they need more from their supporting cast in general and how important Tobias is. But for tonight's game and Wednesday's game, what are you looking for from this team to say, if XYZ doesn't happen, Daryl Morey has to do ABC?
I think you still have to watch the play of the second unit, and you have to watch the 3-point shooting, especially against Utah. You're going to see possibly another clear disparity in 3-point shooting like their first matchup was. But if the second unit continues to struggle and has that inability to create good offensive sets, that's really the main area you still have to circle if you're Daryl Morey, to where you need to upgrade to help take this team to the next level, and just adding more shooting. When players like Embiid and Simmons are the focal point of your team, you can really never have enough shooting around them. Joel said after the Cavs game that he thinks they're still not getting up enough threes. So I think bringing in guys who are going to be able to knock down threes and hunt them will be very good moving forward.
By the way, we can confirm now your Sixers starters for tonight do include Joel Embiid. Your starting lineup: Embiid, Seth Curry, Ben Simmons, Danny Green, and Mike Scott for the Hive tonight.
Yes.
There you go. So Mike Scott getting the start. Now, the question is, what's the over-under? Does he get into a fight?
I'd say under. I think he's still vying for a spot in the rotation, so I think he's going to try and be on his best behavior and just stick to knocking down shots on the outside.
All right, hopefully. Listen, I wouldn't mind, because one reason why I like the idea of Kyle Lowry coming to the Sixers is purely because I want to see a scenario where the lineup on the court is Lowry, Simmons, Embiid, Mike Scott, and Danny Green, and something starts going down. Kyrie says something. Kyle Lowry gets in his face. They start pushing and shoving. And here comes Mike Scott, all crazy and everything, just running in there as the enforcer. That would be a great mode setter for a playoff series, would it not?
Yeah, Mike Scott's the old school hockey enforcer who's just on the bench to kind of patrol and take care of the stars, which he's done a good job in the past. If you go back to that Pistons game, despite Mike Scott being in casual clothes, when Josh Jackson got in Ben Simmons' face, Mike Scott got in the mix and was not going to let that happen.
Josh Jackson, the same guy who's a draft bust and said Ben Simmons should have been rookie of the year. He was out talking smack. And notice how none of the Pistons backed him up.
Yeah.
The entire Sixers bench came to Simmons' defense. And I'm looking at that's the moment Josh Jackson should realize, just stop. Nobody came to your defense. Nobody cares what you think. Don't go away, man. Just go away, Josh Jackson.
Yeah, that was definitely an interesting altercation between those two.
He's Kevin McCormick. You can follow him on Twitter at KevinMCC973 for all your Sixers and NBA coverage. Check out his work over at 973ESPN.com. Also, the 973 ESPN mobile app for all your Sixers coverage from McCormick, from Hudrick, from Blevins, the best Sixers coverage you can find on planet Earth. And as all guests, he appeared on the Boardwalk Honda Hotline. Kevin, like I said, I wore this hat for you. Hopefully, I'm lining up a little vibe with your 3 Phillies jerseys.
I appreciate that, Josh. You take care.
Kevin McCormick, great stuff from him here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN. Josh Hennig live here hanging out with you. Of course, we'll get back to your thoughts at 609-403-0973 on the text board. Also, your thoughts as you watch on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. You can comment on the stream here on 97.3 ESPN. Don't forget my FanDuel Sportsbook pick of the night coming up in just a few minutes as well here on 97.3 ESPN FM, 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle City, and 97.3 ESPN on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. You can watch Sports Bash with Mike Gill every Monday through Friday, as well as Game Night with yours truly, Josh Hennig, here on 97.3 ESPN.
It's Sixers basketball tonight on 97.3 ESPN with the voice of the 76ers, Tom McGinnis, calling all the exciting play-by-play action.
Harris throws it away. Simmons with a steal. Simmons down the lane. Oh, yeah. Right down Broad Street with a two-hand jam.
The Sixers are in Indiana to face the Pacers tonight. Coverage begins at 7 p.m. Philadelphia 76ers basketball on your radio home of the Sixers in South Jersey, 97.3 ESPN.
If you're struggling with a drug or alcohol addiction, now is the time to take action and get professional help. Call Recovery Centers of America at 1-888-RECOVERY today. You are worthy of recovery from your addiction, and calling RCA will be your first step in getting the help you need. Recovery Centers of America answers the phone and admits patients 24/7. And because safety is a top priority, all patients and staff are routinely tested for COVID-19. RCA's expert team of physicians and medical professionals will treat you with compassion and dignity and provide an evidence-based treatment plan that is custom-tailored to your specific needs. Recovery Centers of America at Devon and Lighthouse are local and in-network with insurance providers, so their best-in-class inpatient and outpatient care, offered both in-person and via teletherapy, is affordable and accessible. Make this the year you conquer your addiction. Call today, 1-888-RECOVERY. That's 1-888-RECOVERY.
One of the things I love about betting on basketball with FanDuel Sportsbook is I'm always finding new player props and game lines. And what's cool about FanDuel Sportsbook is you can combine those props with other bets from the same game to score an even bigger payout. It's called a same game parlay bet, and you can only find them with FanDuel Sportsbook. You can combine point spreads, player props, over-unders, and more into a same game parlay to get a big payout on a small bet. And right now, new and existing users can get up to $25 in site credit back each day if your parlay falls one leg short with same game parlay insurance. So just download the FanDuel Sportsbook app today and sign up with my promo code Hennig to try the same game parlays and get the same game parlay insurance. That's promo code Hennig when you sign up with FanDuel Sportsbook. Must be 21 or older to play and present in NJRPA. Refund issued as non-withdrawable site credit that expires in 7 days. Max refund $25. See sportsbook.fanduel.com for full terms, conditions, and details. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Recently, Total Wireless helped Charlie Michelle stage a virtual dance recital for her friends and family.
This event was super meaningful to them.
Because when you move to Total Wireless, you can get amazing devices on nationwide 5G. And with unlimited plans starting at $25 a month, you could save up to $1,200 a year.
Thank you, Total Wireless, for helping me pull this off.
Total Wireless. Do amazing. Compatible 5G device required. 5G network in limited areas. Month equals 30 days. Savings claim made when compared to 4-line postpaid plans of leading carriers 10-20-20. See terms and conditions at totalwireless.com.
A message from your neighbors and friends at First Bank. We've been serving residents and businesses of Sea Isle City and the surrounding communities for more than 130 years. Today's challenges, while unique, are another opportunity to show our strength and resilience. Our commitment to you remains strong. Whether it's using our drive-through services, bank by phone, the First Bank mobile app, or online banking, we're staying strong with you. Be safe and be secure. First Bank, here for you.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Sign up now for this year's $1 Million Bracket Challenge. Registration is underway now at 973ESPN.com and the free mobile app until the tournament begins. The listener whose bracket has the most correct will win a $500 golden getaway in Atlantic City. Thanks to our friends at GoldenNuggetSports.com. And the top 20 listener brackets will receive a free bet at GoldenNuggetSports.com. So register for the $1 Million Bracket Challenge.
Hell yeah!
Now at 973ESPN.com or the free mobile app. Must be 21 plus to place a bet. Only available in New Jersey. Free bets are for online sportsbook only. Please see website for terms and conditions.
National championship.
So head to 973ESPN.com for the free mobile app and register for the $1 million bracket. Now, more Game Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app.
Josh Hennig here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN. Don't forget our Sixers coverage on 97.3 ESPN. Being brought to you by Trifecta Therapeutics in Glassboro, South Jersey's premier sports rehabilitation and physical therapy center, treating the pros and the Joes. Visit them online at trifectatherapeutics.com. Sixers basketball tonight at 7 o'clock. Tom McGinnis on the call versus the Pacers here on 97.3 ESPN. Joel Embiid is starting tonight. Embiid, Danny Green, Mike Scott, Seth Curry, Ben Simmons are your starters for your Philadelphia 76ers here on 97.3 ESPN. Also, don't forget my FanDuel Sportsbook pick of the night is coming up in just a bit. One of the things I love about betting on FanDuel Sportsbook is it's basketball season, and you can find new player props and game lines every single day on FanDuel Sportsbook. You can combine them into even bigger odds with an even bigger payout with same game parlay bets. You can only find them on FanDuel Sportsbook. Combine point spreads, player props, over-unders, and more into a same game parlay. You get a big payout on a small bet. And right now, new and existing users can get up to $25 in site credit back every day if your parlay falls one leg short with same game parlay insurance. So download the FanDuel Sportsbook app now. If you're a new user, use my promo code Hennig to get same game parlay insurance. That's promo code Hennig when you sign up with FanDuel Sportsbook. If you're an existing user, you are grandfathered in to get FanDuel's same game parlay insurance. $25 back in site credit with FanDuel Sportsbook. Must be 21 or to play. See full terms and conditions at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Also, don't forget, check out 973ESPN.com. You check out my latest article at 973ESPN.com and 973 ESPN mobile app, where I get into a little detail about, I talked about this in the article a little bit, and I'll touch on it just for a hot minute here. For those who didn't hear the news last week, Mill Township and Atlantic City schools, they both lost their seasons. Their seasons have been completely erased this year. Mill Township, Atlantic City, both played each other last in boys basketball. The girls team for Atlantic City shut down too for COVID reasons. And listen, I just ask everybody to, show a little compassion for these young people. Situations, circumstances completely out of their control, ruined. They ruined their season. They stole something from their lives. An experience for their life is ripped away from them. As a former high school athlete myself, I don't know where I would be today if it wasn't for those experiences. Playing high school sports kept me out of a lot of trouble when I was younger. Playing sports, put me in a better place in life, a better place, socially, mentally, emotionally, so many ways. And for high school sports to be ripped away from these kids because of protocols and pandemics and everything, it's just painful to watch. So, if you're someone out there who's in a position to help one of these young people progress in life, better their lives, maybe do something specific with their lives moving forward, I just ask you to give them the opportunity. Be there for them, reach out to them, because, these young people, they didn't deserve to have this ripped away from them. So I ask you all, just go check out my article on 973ESPN.com where I get deeper into the topic, because it's something I think it's overlooked in all the news headlines, focusing on pro sports, on the big time conferences. You forget about how this has impacted people at all levels of life and of sport. And, the COVID-19 pandemic and everything that's happened with it has gone far beyond just people testing positive and all that kind of stuff. Not to belittle those things, but the ramifications of everything that we've gone through for the last year goes far beyond just what the headlines like to tell you. So again, 973ESPN.com, my latest piece on that topic. Text board is open, 609-403-0973. Get on the conversation. Also, we are live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter, where you can watch the show, comment during the stream here on 97.3 ESPN. Again, Joel Embiid in the starting lineup tonight for the 76ers. He was questionable earlier tonight, but he has been cleared and said good to go for Sixers basketball tonight versus the Pacers, which means the Sixers actually have a chance to win the game tonight. According to John Clark of NBC Sports Philadelphia, the issue with Embiid was left ankle soreness. So he was dealing with an ankle issue, but they have cleared him to play, so he should be good to go with the ankle issue. Also, a little strange NBA news that came down earlier today. I don't know if you guys saw this, but Lloyd Pierce fired by the Atlanta Hawks. And I got to be honest with you, I'm shocked that Lloyd Pierce was fired for a couple of reasons. One, Lloyd Pierce and his Hawks were 2 games out of the 7-10 scenario. If you're a team that lands between 7 and 10 this year, you can play into the postseason. So you're 2 games back of that situation. He's had a plethora of injuries this year. Think about this. He almost never played with a full roster this year. Rondo was injured for a bunch of games. Bogdanovich is still out and injured. Gallinari injured for a bunch of games. Chris Dunn hasn't even played this year, all right? You have all these guys who missed games. But you're like, hey, Lloyd Pierce, you stink. Get out of town. I mean, what a strange situation. Again, 14-20. I know it's not great, but you're not the Pistons. You're not the Cavs. You're not the Magic. You're not the Wizards. You have a better record than all those teams. I know you have a losing record, but man, they have had a really rough year in terms of injuries. And when you think about it, it's not like Trae Young is struggling. Trae Young's having another year where he is progressing as a basketball player. Trae Young has gotten better as a three-point shooter. He's gotten more efficient as a scorer. He's shooting better from the free throw line. I don't understand why you fired Lloyd Pierce. There's something going on there. There's got to be some bigger story to that. Not that I love Lloyd Pierce per se, but I just find the story very strange that a guy on a team with a ton of injuries gets canned just a week before the All-Star game for what? For Nate McMillan to be the coach? There's a reason why Nate McMillan was fired in Indiana, because he couldn't get them beyond a certain point. I don't know, man. Very strange situation going on down there in Atlanta. All right. FanDuel Sportsbook pick of the night. Again, use promo code Hennig for same-game parlay insurance up to $25 back site credit on your same-game parlay insurance every single day. A bit of a rocky weekend. 1-2 on Friday, 2-2 on Saturday with the picks. So we're going to try to get back on a above 500 track here. I'm going to Denver versus Chicago. This is a weird situation. So Millsap and Paul Millsap and Gary Harris, according to reports, are going to be out until the All-Star break. That Denver, according to reports coming out of Denver, is apparently going to hold them out for the rest of the first half of the season. Denver is on the road tonight at Chicago. Now, here's the deal with the Nuggets. The Nuggets, they're not having a great season. The Nuggets are 18-15 on the year. They're 8.5 games behind the Jazz. They're half a game behind Portland. They're having a weird year. And this is the second game of a road trip for the Denver Nuggets. I know Jokic is having an amazing season, but I'm telling you guys, something's not right with the Nuggets here. And to be without Millsap, to be without Gary Harris for this long period of time, you're going to be leaning on guys like Michael Porter Jr., who has been inconsistent as a scorer. So I'm liking the Bulls +4 tonight. It's at home. It's in Chicago. Chicago doesn't have any of their major players out outside of Otto Porter Jr. He's really the only guy who's not going to play. And let's be realistic. Otto Porter Jr. is not the guy who makes that team run. That would be Zach LaVine, Kobe White, Trae Young. Thaddeus Young is actually having a really good year. So the Bulls are almost at completely full strength. The Nuggets are basically two guys and a bunch of dudes. By the way, you know who else is out? Paul Millsap's backup, JaMychal Green, who's also the backup center. So you're without two of your best fours and your starting guard in the backcourt with Gary Harris. So no Green, no Millsap, no Harris. Also, you're in Chicago. Give me Chicago +4. I mentioned Michael Porter Jr. Don't touch the points with him. He's been inconsistent, but here's what he has been doing. Michael Porter Jr. has 10 rebounds in 3 straight games. Also, 6 of his last 7 games, he has snagged 7 rebounds. So if you take the Chicago Bulls +4, use the same game parlays with FanDuel Sportsbook, and combine that with Michael Porter over 7.5 rebounds, I like those numbers for them. And if you want to get a third leg out of that parlay, you know who's been a rebounding machine for most of the year? It's that guy Wendell Carter. He is also at 7.5 rebounds. Those 3 combined is +429 odds on FanDuel Sportsbook. Thanks again to Kevin McCormick for joining us here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN. Don't forget Sixers basketball coverage being brought to you by Trifecta Therapeutics in Glassboro, South Jersey's premier rehabilitation physical therapy center, treating the pros and the Joes. Visit them online at trifectatherapeutics.com. Sixers, Pacers tonight. Tom McGinnis coming up next, right here in your home for Sixers basketball. 97.3 ESPN. Don't forget Sixers coverage over at 97.3 ESPN.com and 97.3 ESPN mobile app.
Health update with Robin Stoloff. Learn more, live better.
Does this sound familiar? You're sending an email while you're on a Zoom call, or you're talking on the phone while scrolling through your computer.
We might think multitasking helps us get more done, but actually it could be the opposite. Dividing our attention among too many tasks can negatively affect memory, attention,